Hey guys, this is Crystal with Coffin Up Stitches. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do this open mesh stitch that I used. This is actually a shirt underneath here that you can see. I am wearing it on a TikTok. It's under Coffin Up Stitches if you want to go see what it looks like on me. I used the Line Brand Bunny Tracks was the color I used to make the shirt that you see underneath here. And it is a 3-weight. It calls for an H hook. With this one, I used a J hook to make these. I just wanted the holes to be very big. I wanted you to see the stitch, and it's also kind of like off one shoulder, so I want to make sure it was big. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to do it in a different color. It's going to be the Mandala Ombre in the color Cool. If I can find it, there we go. In the color Cool. And this is a 4-weight, and it calls for an I hook, but again, I'm going to be using a J hook. A J hook is my favorite. You'll probably see me use that a lot here on the channel, but my J is like my go-to. It's just bigger. It's easier for my hands, so I like it. But you'll need either a size 3 or size 4 weight yarn. Will work best for this. A hook, again, I'm using a J 5.75 millimeter. And if you want to count your rows, a row counter, because this is an even odd row, so you don't have to keep up with what rows that you're on if you want to make sure you're doing it right. I even still use my row counter to make sure, because you have 2 repeating rows. You have an even row and an odd row in this pattern. So if you want a stitch counter, or you might be able to do a stitch marker and maybe do like every 10 rows if it helps you better doing that way. I just like using a stitch counter. This is one of the finger ones. I honestly don't like this one as far as like putting it on my finger while I crochet, so I actually end up hooking it to either a long necklace or even to like a tank top strap, something like that. But a stitch counter would be good, or stitch markers if you prefer to count with stitch markers. So let's go ahead and get into today's lesson. Let me find my end of my yarn here. I lost it throwing it around. My yarn decided to give me a critter today instead of coming out for me pretty easily. There we go, I found it. And then when we get done, I'll kind of show you what the end of my shirt looks like, because I did not like do a finishing row on it because I wanted it to be a little bit more jagged on the edge. So I'll show that to you. This is a really fun pattern. As far as like how much yarn it used, for the front and back panel, because I just done it in straight panels. I didn't do anything fancy. It used a whole skein of the ice cream for the back, and then another whole skein for the front, but I didn't have to use much out of this to sew it together. So you're looking at using roughly 7 ounces. So if you could get one of the big ice creams, you would probably be fine using that. You just want to really make sure you're counting your rows. Then one side of mine did turn out a little bit longer than the other, which is fine because I wear leggings a lot. So with the back of it being a little bit longer, that's where I'll wear the longer side. Kind of covers my rump there. So me wearing this stuff to work is helpful. So you're going to start with a slip knot. Stick your hook in there. And since I'm just doing a sample row, I am doing 18. This is a stitch that it is 6 stitches, 6 chains plus 4. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. So that's your first 6, and then 6 more. 6. And then I'm going to do 6 more. But if you are going to do a blanket or a shirt or anything like that, go ahead and measure how far you want your shirt to come, because where it is done in 2, this particular pattern is done in 2 panels. You don't have to measure how long you want it. If you want it from shoulder to shoulder, Measure your shoulders. If you want it from elbow to elbow, measure how far each elbow is from the other. Things like that, because that will also determine your sleeves, on how long your sleeves are going to be. Mine's kind of like a 3/4 sleeve top. It don't have much of a sleeve on it. One, and I'm going to do 6 more. And then you're going to add 4 to the end of your stitch chain count. 2, 3, 4. So most of the time I will put my thumb where I start my 4, but I just didn't do that today. But you're going to count back 7. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're going to double crochet into that 7th chain. Now I just use the top loop. Some people, you'll see them go under and use 2 loops. I just use the top one. It just seems to been what was easier for me these past years. I've been crocheting, so that's just what I do. Now I will say, with this yarn, you do have to kind of be careful, because sometimes you might pull up the loop. So if you don't like frilly yarn, I wouldn't suggest using the Mandala. I just really like this color. I've worked with it before and it's worked fine. But if you're new to crochet and you don't really want yarn that's going to give you a problem, I would suggest probably using something a little bit more tighter wound. The Mandala is not wound very tight, even though it is a 4. It's just not wound very tight, so I would use something else if you're a beginner doing this. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go down here. After you double crochet it into that, you're going to chain 2, okay, and then double crochet into that same stitch, okay. So what you're kind of doing, it's going to kind of look like a V stitch if you look at it. Well, let me get my hook out of here so I can show you. You're going to kind of see like a V stitch. This gray is very hard to see. But if you can see that, you've got your double crochet going down here, your chain 2, and then your double crochet and going on that side. So it's kind of like a V stitch, which I will be teaching you later on. So if you're not familiar with that, I will be teaching you. So you're going to go from this point and you're going to chain 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then you're going to skip 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, and go into the 4th one with a double crochet. Now this is the foundation row, so this is going to be your hardest row. This is it's the easiest stitch, but the foundation row it's a different one. So on the next one, you're going to go and you're going to skip 1, 2, and go into the 3rd stitch, okay? I don't know if you can see that, but 1, 2, and go into the 3rd. Well, there we go. 1, 2, 3. You're going to go into this 3rd stitch here. And you're going to double crochet. Then chain 2. And double crochet into that same stitch again. And then you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go into the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And double crochet in it. Okay, and then you're going to do 1, 2, go into this last one, and you're just going to double crochet into that last remaining stitch. Now, if your stitch count does not turn out right and you've got this big, gigantic, long chain and you're like, man, I thought I counted my stitches right. If you can look at the end of it and kind of like, maybe if you've got like 4 or whatever, go ahead and just double crochet into that last one And then because it still won't mess up your count as far as like if you're trying to make sure you have the right one. Now, if you've got 5 or 6 extra ones, you know, maybe see if you can finagle a way to get it to where maybe you can get like an extra motif in there or whatever, and see if that will work. If it don't, then you may have to frog it, but you know what? We learn from our mistakes, and sometimes you can make something maybe even more beautiful with your mistake. I've done that plenty of times, following a pattern that I did not know or that was new. Ended up being totally different or similar, and it was beautiful. So don't stress about it, you know, just calmly frog it and do it over if you need to. So when you come to the end of this foundation row, you're going to chain 3. Every row begins with a chain 3. This is going to be your even row. So chain 3, flip your work, and on your even row, you're going to go in and you're going to double crochet into this chain 5, that big chain 5 space. This is where it gets easy. You're going to double crochet 1 time, and then you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See what I mean by this yarn splits? So if you're new and you don't want slippery yarn, I would not suggest the ombre. It's just my personal opinion, and I lost count. So again, we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then you're going to double crochet back down into this chain 5 space, okay? This is like where this pattern becomes super easy, super fast. You're going to skip over to the next chain 5 space, and you're going to double crochet. This is where this motif's going to get familiar. So you're going to double crochet, chain 2. Oh, my yarn critter's coming into view, ain't it? So you're going to chain 2 and then double crochet back into that big chain 5 space. Then you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And double crochet back down into that big chain 5 space. If I'm moving too fast, slow me down, stop me, rewind me. That's really why I'm doing just a smaller project sample stitch for you guys, just so it's a little bit easier, so you're not having to worry about trying to keep up with this big long thing. You can kind of go at your own pace, and you won't have to rewind so much to maybe try and find your spot. So then you've got this motif right here, this chain, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over here and you're going to find the turning chain, and then you're going to double crochet into it. So right here is the chain going into that double crochet. I don't want that one. I want this one right here, the one right behind it right here. Now, because this yarn is finicky, if I get out of view, I'm sorry, but I do have old people eyes, and sometimes I cannot see. There we go. And then we're just going to double crochet into that chain 3. Okay, so one thing I do want to note, because over here at the beginning, we just done a chain and then a double crochet and chain 5. That means at the end of this row, we are going to chain 2, okay, and then we're going to go back into that same stitch that we just came out of with the double crochet, and double crochet in it again. Now that is your even row, okay? And I know it looks a little catty-wonker right now, you know, especially with me doing a smaller stitch for you guys. But that is kind of what it should be looking like right now. I'm going to move this out of the way, see if it kind of makes it any better on seeing what we're doing here. That's kind of what it should be looking like right now for you. Looks a little odd because it is it's a swatch. But that's what it should be looking like right now for you. Let's go ahead and double crochet into that turning chain for the last time. Okay, and then you're going to chain 3 again. So there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, then you're going to turn. And because this is an odd row, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be doing a double crochet into the chain 5, chain 2, and double crochet into the chain 5. It's the simplest stitch after you get past that foundation row. And then you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then double crochet into that big chain 5 space again. And then again, find the big chain 5 space, your next big chain 5 space, and do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then double crochet into the same stitch, okay? Do you see where that yarn split a little bit? I'm not going to worry about it just because I am going to rip this out and redo this because I'm going to make a bigger shirt out of this color. I just want to show you guys with a sample. Okay, so because over here we done the chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, chain 5 into that first big stitch, how we're going to end this row is we're going an odd row. We begin an odd row with a chain 3, go into the next big space with a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 5. So how you're going to end it is you're going to go into the turning chain from the previous row. If you need to, turn your stitches. It's right here. Go into that stitch. This is a bad color to do this with, guys, so I may end up doing this again, but with a different color. And then we are going to just do a double crochet in that chain 3. Leave it. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work. And this will be row 4, so it's going to be an even row. So what are we going to do? We're going to find our chain 5 spaces. And we are going to double crochet 1 time. On an odd row, we begin with a double crochet 1 time. And then we automatically go into a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we do another double crochet. Okay. Then we find the next chain 5 space and we double crochet again. And this time we're going to chain 2 into the next one after we do our double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then double crochet into the chain 5 space again. Okay, so you're always going to be working in that chain 5 space after you get done with the foundation row. Now, I understand that this looks crazy, cockeyed. This is a cobweb, spidery, free lace crochet shirt or blanket, or if you want it as a coffee table cover or something for that spooky time of the year, or if you're like me and you just like spooky all the time, then you could just, you know, let it freely go and not really pay that much attention. I mean, you don't want it all catty-wonkered, but you could not have to pay all that attention to it. But you're going to go in here and you are going to find that chain 3 again. I keep getting out of focus today, don't I, guys? I am so sorry. I may do this again later on a live, maybe closer to Halloween. So you're going to go in here because it is an odd row. You're going to go in that 3rd chain and you're going to double crochet, chain 2 because it's an odd row and we're ending an odd row, and double crochet into that same stitch right here, okay? Now I will say when you're going into these end stitches and you're double crocheting and you're doing the V-stitch at the end, you really do want to be careful about how you do that because you can get a little off kilter and it won't be straight on your sides if you're doing a shirt like I am, or if you're wanting something to be, you know, especially straight. But this is kind of how you should be looking right now. Like I said, this is just like a little pattern, but you can see that this looks like the shirt. This is just a little stitch sample. So if you maybe don't trust yourself and you just want to do the stitch sample, again, it's 18 stitches. It's 18 chains plus 4. So with this particular stitch, you want to do a chain of 6 plus 4, and then you'll go into the 7th one. And then just go back to the beginning of the video to learn how to do the stitch. But this is the stitch, and I will be making a shirt or another shirt for Halloween out of this color. So, you know, stick around for that. And maybe, like I said, if I can get enough subscribers, because this is new, this is my 4th or 5th tutorial video, I believe, I will do a live on how to do this as well. So just stay tuned for that. But I really enjoyed making this shirt and sharing it with you guys. My chain for my shirt, if you're wanting to do a shirt, now I am a bigger girl, I wear a 2X shirt, so I chained, I want to say 126 plus 4, I think, or maybe 123 plus 4. It's either 123 or 126 plus 4. I should have wrote that down. I forgot. I figured I could remember. But I'm going to take my camera up because I want to show you guys how big this shirt actually is and how beautiful the stitch actually is on it. So I'm going to be moving my camera around and showing you guys. All I did was I put the chained edge, as you can see, up here at the neck hole and left that raw. I didn't do anything extra to it. And when I done, sorry about that, when I done my seam, I thought I would leave my seam on the outside, but I ended up not doing that. But I crocheted it together with just a single crochet in each loop right through here and in between the holes. I done a single crochet. And then I went back around it 2 more times because I thought I was going to leave it out, but I decided not to. I like it better in. It looks a little bit more like a finished product from a store to me that way. And then I just left a big enough hole for my arms. And then I done the same thing down through here. Just a single crochet. And how I done the rouging effect right there that you see is I just single crocheted a couple of them together till I kind of got it brought up a little bit because I wanted to give it a little bit of something extra. And it actually kind of helps cinch in my waist a little bit. But it's a pretty big one. And like I said, I didn't really measure how long I wanted my pieces. I just went until one ball was out for each side. So I didn't really measure to see how many inches I wanted or needed. And the end of it, since I didn't do a finishing end, ended up, the bottom had this really beautiful scalloped edge on the bottom of it. So that ended up being really pretty. You can actually see where I messed up right there, but this is the back, so it's okay. We all mess up, but you know what? That's what makes handmade stuff great. We all mess up sometimes. I'm not here to be perfect. I don't think anybody else is. I'm just here to have fun. But this is a cobweb stitch, or lacy mesh stitch, whatever you want to call it. Some people told me today it looked like cobweb, so I guess we'll call it the cobweb stitch. I just always thought it was a pretty mesh stitch, so I used it. But that's my shirt. And then like I said, this was Bunny Tracks line brand ice cream Bunny Tracks, and this is a weight 3. And then this one was the ombre yarn, and it was a weight 4. But it honestly, it kind of worked up about the same if you look at it. This might be a little bit thicker, but not by much. I think it's just by the way that it's spun makes it kind of work up the same, because it's not spun as tight as a normal 4 would be. So I think it just kind of makes it a little bit more different. But that is my shirt for the day. And I had pumpkin pie going today again. So that's like my favorite one. And it is by... It's one of the ones I picked up at Hobby Lobby the other day. They was $2.99, and I think I got them for $1.50. But I'm still working on the 2 waxes. The first 2 waxes I took out of there, and they're still going pretty strong. And I've had this on almost every day. So this is actually a really good buy. You get more bang for your buck and more smell. But y'all are not here for incense, obviously. Y'all are here for crochet. But that's my shirt and my spin on it, and then my little sample. But like I said, I'll probably do another one around Halloween, and I will do a live then. So until then, don't forget, it's never too late to create, and stay spooky, guys.